powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And it is brought to you by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Don't forget, we'll be live there this Friday, so come out and see us on Friday. Start your weekend at the Gallery. For more information, visit oceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Well, Adam Caplan, the injury report is freshly out, so we'll take a look at that to start things off as we start on a Football at 4 Tuesday. How are you? Where one guy did not participate, Avonte Maddox. A couple guys limited, Lane Johnson, Linval Joseph, and Robert Quinn, who has a back injury now. Joseph with the calf, but not a lot of guys, including no Jalen Hurts at all on the practice report. Does that say he is 100% and ready to go?
No, it does not. It just means that the injury is better. I've seen players who've had high ankle sprains not be on the injury report, Mike, and they continue to get treatment on it. No, it's not an indication of that it's over. No, this is he's got this sprain in his right shoulder, and as Mosher first reported weeks ago, he's got an issue with his collarbone. So no, but the good thing is, Mike, and that's kind of where I wanted to lead off with this anyway. I'm glad you brought this up. The hope is, and the belief is, 2 more weeks will help him recover. The fact that he's not on the injury report is a positive sign that he's doing better. That's without question. He absolutely is doing better. So that, to me, Mike, is the essence of their game plan. You saw them in the last matchup against the Giants. They didn't design anything for him to run. Now, that was to preserve that right shoulder, no question about it. It seemed like they weren't really game planning very much, running a lot of base plays. You're going to see them throw that out the door. Hurts must run. He must run to not only impact their offense, to impact Miles Sanders, who, by the way, is not listed on the injury report with his left knee. That's also good news. So the 2 weeks has helped them. Of course, Lane Johnson with the adductor tear, the tendon that's got to be repaired after they're done playing. Linval Joseph is new with a calf injury. Robert Quinn has had a back injury before. It's not the first time he's been listed on it. He had the knee surgery when he was out, and now he's got a back problem again. So we'll see. He doesn't play very much anyway, but he did have a quality rush in the last game. So the good news is, if you kind of look over their injury report here, Josh Sweat, by the way, he's definitely playing. We noticed this 3 weeks ago. We had the report that we were told he would be in play. Even 2 days after he got hurt, we were told he was in play to be able to play in the first postseason game. You could say he's going to play. He's not even in the injury report, so he's good to go with the neck issue. And then the guy who's not listed because he can't be, he's on injured reserve, is Aaron Sipos, the punter, with his significant high ankle sprain. He told the media last week that he's close. Not he won't be available this week, but it would be great if they win this week, that maybe he starts working back in that 21-day window to add some competition, because Brett Kern, the punter, Mike, not been quite as good as we thought he would be.
Yeah, and obviously, Kern's a guy who they were using earlier because they could put him on the practice squad and then keep bringing him up. He's taking a roster spot up right now as well. So we'll keep an eye on Sipos and how that goes. But you mentioned it, Adam. Hurts obviously is the big one, but Miles Sanders not on the injury report. Josh Sweat not on the injury report. We would imagine that these guys could be, ready to go at full, because health is a big factor. Lane Johnson and Hurts are 2 guys, and Avonte Maddox. Those 3 guys not being potentially 100%. Certainly, I think, has doubt in some people's mind, right? If those guys are at 100%, are people as having as much doubt?
I would definitely have some doubt in terms of him lasting. Johnson told the media, he's pretty clear about it, that he's playing. Lane has no idea. No one has any idea how long he'll last with the adductor tear. It's interesting. The Eagles changed it on their last injury report 2 weeks ago. They changed it from abdomen to groin because an adductor is connected to the groin. I've had that area stretched, and I get stretched a couple days a week, and I could tell you could feel it when it's not right, when you're sore in that area. It's a core injury. It's a muscle core injury. I would worry about that. Josh Sweat, we were told pretty strongly that he was taken off the field for precautionary reasons. He felt fine the next day, sore. You were not going to play him because A, it was a neck injury, B, he was sore. But if they had to play a week ago, he would have played. So he's good to go. He should be fine, really should be fine. The only guy we know is not going to play is Avonte Maddox. We don't know as we noted 3 weeks ago, the Eagles felt strongly he'd be able to play maybe in the Super Bowl, the championship game, as early as that. That's why they didn't put him on IR, because that would have excluded him from the playoffs. Remember, you have to miss a minimum of 4 games. It's not weeks. It's nothing to do with injury reserve. It's games. And they knew, and based on what he was dealing with and the procedure that he had done on his toe, there was a chance maybe he'd be able to play by the Super Bowl or maybe the championship game. So that's where the injuries sit as we get close to Saturday's game, not Sunday's game, Saturday's game, after both teams had a walkthrough today.
Yeah, and keep in mind the Giants played Sunday, so they do have one less day to get ready for this game, while the Eagles have the full 2 weeks off. How much will that 2 weeks help Jalen Hurts recover from this injury? You know, what is your thoughts on, you mentioned him not being on the injury report doesn't necessarily mean he's 100% and back ready to go.
Yeah, he won't be 100%. I don't know he could say whatever he wants, but there's so many players who they don't want other teams to know anyway. You're not going to be over this injury in a matter of 4 weeks. It just can't happen. You could be 80%. Now, here's all you need to know. Watch the first quarter play calls with Hurts. You saw in the last game, right? You saw when he went down against the Giants, it was a 3rd and 1. I think it was 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1. He purposely went down to avoid contact on that right shoulder. That told you a lot that he clearly is not right. And so I know some people question whether he should have played or not. I get those questions. You will see, Mike, in this game, in the first quarter, if there are not any design runs, if he's not running, it's a problem. And I'm telling you, this game's going to be closer than you think. If he's not running, it's a problem.
Yeah, and conversely, you take a look at, I was going to say Sam Bradford. I don't know why his name popped into my head, but Daniel Jones ran 17 times last week. And the Eagles sometimes – they don't blitz, they don't send a lot of pressure, and then they get into coverage. We have seen quarterbacks been able to run against this defense to extend drives. If Jones is going to do it 17 times, conversely, that could be a very frustrating day because that could extend drives for the Giants.
Yeah, a couple things. 4 of them were kneel downs, but a majority of them were design runs. Some he scrambled on his own. He saw opening, and he just went instead of letting the play go. The thing that shocked me, Mike, about this game against the Vikings is how shifty he looked. Remember, he's 6'5". Josh Allen is very shifty in the way that he runs. Usually I don't see guys this big move like that. That surprised me. We know he had very good straight line speed. He might actually be faster if you clocked him, Jones versus Hurts in a straight line speed race. But Hurts is a little bit more shifty. He's also stronger physically. This is actually kind of a cool battle between the running quarterbacks. They both will run it. I didn't think this would be like that. As you set this up, Mike, I never really thought of it that way, but you know what? It really is at this point.
These 2 quarterbacks have more combined rushing yards in the regular season than any other 2 quarterbacks in postseason history. So, yes, they both like to run. Let's talk about this. We talked about the last time they played. Jones only ran 4 times. He ran 17 the other day, some of them kneel downs, but he was more active, 78 yards rushing. Have the Giants changed at all since week 14 when really the Eagles undressed them? I mean, that was maybe the most impressive lopsided win of the year for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at the week 18 game because they took it as a first preseason game. Talk of the Giants, that's the way they looked at it. They had to play a couple starters because you can't, when you only have 47 game day rosters plus elevations, you can't rest every starter. But they took it as the game did not matter to them in any way, shape, or form, other than getting some backup, some snaps. So we're not going to be discussing that game very much, if at all, on our Wednesday or Friday shows because it doesn't really matter. What matters is the Week 14 game, as you brought up. Yeah, in that game, what's changed is, they were not letting them throw a lot this season, but both Viking games, it's just interesting. Now, one of them, it wasn't like they were behind the first one, and the second one, the game they just played, the game they just played. I mean, they've given them more volume. It's interesting, and it's not like they're playing with great wide receivers. They're playing with 3 backups who have to play, who are now called starters: Richie James, Darius Slade, and Isaiah Hodgins. Hodgins has scored in 5 of the last 7 games he's played in. He's been a great story. You might remember his dad, James Hodgins, a Super Bowl winning fullback for the Rams many years ago in the early 2000s. He's been a great story of development after being claimed off waivers in around a little bit before Thanksgiving. It's kind of a crazy story. So, yeah, they're throwing the ball more. They're giving them more volume, and it's certainly working out for them. That because the running game, and Barkley looked good. He didn't run the ball a lot. In fact, Jones technically ran it more against the Vikings in the second matchup that they had. But I like how aggressive they were with Jones. They weren't throwing the ball deep necessarily. A lot of intermediate passes. They found a ton of intermediate areas, voids in the Vikings zone defense, so they exploited it.
Another thing that I thought was interesting, and you look at the Giants side of the injury report, Adoree Jackson and McKinney, neither played in that Week 14 game. How do they change the Giants' complexion on defense?
Yeah, Landon Collins is new. We might remember him as a impact player, signed a huge contract with the Washington team, the Commandos, and it never really worked out for him. He's back as a quasi-linebacker safety. The guys that they're concerned about, there are only two, really. It's Azeez Ojulari, who's when he plays, he's really good. He's only played in 7 games this season. His new injury is quadriceps. He had another injury, which is off the injury report. Now, when I say Adoree Jackson, they're concerned, he should play. He had an MCL sprain, which made him miss 6 weeks. This new injury is a back injury, and they didn't practice today. They only had a walkthrough. He did participate in it. We need to learn more about that. But the big one, and Jason Pinnock was claimed off waivers from the Jets before the season started. He's been playing like 40, 50% of the snaps overall when he's played a ton of snaps. The last 2 games, he got carted off with an abdomen injury, and he took all his reps in practice. So that was a good sign. But Adoree Jackson did a phenomenal job against Justin Jefferson. He kind of shut him down. In fact, he had no catches or targets in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was kind of mentioning that they just played in Week 16. Jefferson had 133 yards in that game, no Jackson. So now is Jackson matched up with his old buddy A.J. Brown? They played together in Tennessee. They blitzed Hurts 50% of the time, Adam, this season in the 2 games. Hurts just threw it up, and there's Brown and Smith winning the one-on-one battles. Big plays all over the place. But Wink Martindale only blitzed 22% of the time this week. Are those blitzes going to be coming? Do you think they send the pressure after Jalen Hurts?
Well, they're not. Their blitz numbers in the second, I'm going to say probably the last 5 to 6 weeks are down significantly. They were the number 1 blitz team in the NFL. They're still up there, but they're not blitzing as much. In fact, we talked about this on Monday morning on our Monday morning show. For some reason, they've been playing a lot more zone coverage. Now, I think part of it is because they were giving up a lot of explosive plays against the blitz downfield. They're not getting killed. In fact, they played a ton of cover 2 in the game against Minnesota. They were not going to get crushed deep. They didn't. Now, the Eagles' offense is different. They don't play the same offense like the Vikings do. The Vikings play a lot of 11 personnel. I get that. So do the Eagles. But they don't call the plays. Their schematics are different. The way they call plays are different. The Eagles they create a lot of what we call clear out plays for the receivers. But the Eagles love to also run isolation routes where they say, okay, A.J. Brown, you're going to run a 9 route here. You're going to go against Nick McLeod, number 44, like he did in the first matchup. We'd said on that show leading up to that game, Nick McLeod will have a bullseye on his back, and he did. Now, he didn't have to be the factor in this last game because Adoree Jackson was back against Minnesota. Now, they may match up Adoree Jackson against Brown. The problem is Adoree Jackson is a smaller but faster corner. I think Brown would handle him. We're going to check more into this. Now, I would put him probably more in Devontae Smith. That'd be a better matchup on him. They're not good at corner other than Adoree Jackson. That's why in that first matchup when the Eagles scored 48, they were super aggressive, Mike. 24 pass plays in the first, 24 pass attempts in the first half. They got a huge lead. Only 7 rush attempts in the second half in that first matchup.
A lot going on in this one, obviously. As you chronicled, a lot has changed since Week 14 for these teams. This Giant team, healthier and probably a lot more confidence, Adam. I think one of the questions, and we'll talk more about this later on in the week, but Brian Daboll, we've seen how much coaching has been a factor in these playoffs. This is a well-coached Giants team. This is going to be a well-prepared team. You can count on that. Not that Minnesota wasn't, but Minnesota's defense was just such a weak spot for them. I think that was a really big factor in that game. the Giants are going to see a much higher quality defensive opponent this time.
So let me just go over the whole coaching shift, just to give you an idea of how good it was. I told people before the season started, my over-unders, I think I went 4-3. I said, take the over 7.5. The roster isn't very good, but the coaching is going to be superior. You mentioned Brian Daboll has done an unbelievable job talking to the Giants about him. He's rebuilt the culture in that building. He's great with everyone in that building. Mike Kafka, he calls the plays and is their passing game coordinator. Bobby Johnson, the offensive line coach, handles, I'm told, the running game. He's also their line coach. He does a phenomenal job. Dominic Martindale, one of the best D coordinators in the league. The Eagles got him in the first matchup. They housed that defense. McGahee, the special teams coach, is terrific, who's been there for a while. Mike Groh, the receivers coach, one of the best receivers coaches in the league. He's done a great job. Tony Sperano Jr., remember the late Tony Sperano Sr., remember his dad, who was a good coach. Tony's a very good young offensive line coach. You know who's on that staff? Brian Cox, the former linebacker, has been in the league like years. Andre Patterson, one of the better D-line coaches in the league. Jerome Henderson, one of the better D-back coaches in the league. When you have superior coaching, Mike, you could somewhat overcome inferior talent, and they've been able to do that.
All right, Saturday night. By the way, 7.5 is the number. Over under 48.5. So some points maybe in this one. We'll see. It all unfolds right here on 97.3 ESPN. Adam's back tomorrow for football at 4. Eagles, Giants. We'll have more from the coordinators as we get ready. By the way, all 4 coordinators are interviewing for new jobs. How about that? Yeah,
look, it's interesting. Steichen and Gannon, Gannon has. I mean, if he doesn't get the Texans job, it surprised me last year when he didn't get it. This is the guy they've really wanted from day one, so we'll see. You just never know, but we'll see what happens. Steichen interviewed for a lot of them. Wilson is a D-backs job coach. He didn't get the Browns job, the Browns DC job. That went to Jim Schwartz.
Right.
But look, they've got a ton of interest in these coaches. This is what happens when you have a great team. The Eagles have tied for the best record in the NFL. You're just going to have interest. This is just what happens in this business. They always want to know what you know. In fact, another thing is, I'm not saying it's the case in this one, but I could tell you sometimes teams they don't really want to hire the guy, but they want to learn how they do things. That does go on.
Yeah, the other guy is Kevin Petula. He is interviewing for the Jets offensive coordinator. And conversely, Wink Martindale has a head coaching interview with the Colts. And Mike Kafka has an interview with the Panthers. So every coordinator.
He actually has more than one, by the way. Kafka's on the list of more than one team, I think.
There you go. So all these coordinators are being looked at. All right, Adam Caplan, back tomorrow for football at 4. Thank you, Adam.
Bye, man.